Cool. All right, so I have a very special treat for you today. Since it is winter and tonight is going to be cold again, this week is the perfect week for soup. And I was asking, I was like, Dawn, what should I cook? Because there's so many, I have so many recipes, so many things I could do. It's hard for me to choose. And she's like, do soup. And so I gave her 3 different ideas of 3 different kinds of soup that I could do. And she chose this one. So I still couldn't choose, so I gave you all 3 recipes. So I'm gonna give, I took one for myself. I'm gonna give one, if you guys could just pass those around. There are 4 recipes on there, but I promise I'm only demonstrating one of them. Because we'd be here all day if I did them all. So what I'm gonna do is the first one on your sheet, it's called creamy potato soup. And this is a childhood favorite soup for me. When I was 7 years old, there was an older lady in our church. Well, to me she was older. Now I don't feel like she's older anymore because she was in her mid-40s. But she decided to open a vegetarian restaurant in our town. And one of the things that she served in her restaurant was this soup. And when I got married, of course, by then she was much older and retired and no longer running a restaurant. She gave me her recipe. And so when we opened our restaurant, this was the first thing that I served. Because I was like, I want to have the same soup that she had in her restaurant. And so that's what this recipe is. Of course, when she gave me her recipe, she gave me absolutely 0 measurements. She only gave me ingredients. So this is Kristina's version of her recipe because I have my own ingredients in there. But to help speed up the process so things cook faster, I already got some water boiling on the stove, so that should help us. And I'm going to unplug the boiling water and turn on the food processor. To also save time, we're going to use a food processor today. I promise, like, this is my mom's old broken food processor that she gave to me just before we moved here.
Well, that makes it special.
So, up until now, I've always chopped everything by hand. But a food processor will help to speed up time. So the first thing you need is onion. And I know it says 1 large onion, but you know, Kristina likes more onions. So we're gonna, this is an 8-quart pot, not a 6-quart pot. The recipe you have is for a 6-quart pot. But I always fill up every pot that I have. It doesn't matter. If this was a 12-quart pot, I would just double the recipe and fill it all the way up too. Oh, lovely. I guess we're not going to use the food processor because I brought the wrong blade. So we're going to chop it. It's okay. Kristina's chopped many onions. Onion is something that you can do as much or as little as you want, depending on how much you like onion. If my husband and I are sick, I'll put 4 onions in and 20 cloves of garlic and call it like soup to make you feel better, okay? It works very well. It's a great way to get onion down and you don't really know that you're eating onion. Because I hate onion, but I'll eat it in soup because, you know, it's in soup.
And it's snuck them in everywhere.
Oh yeah, and when you put it in soup, you can't tell because
That's right.
like, you know, it's chopped small, it's cooked to death, it's not crunchy anymore, you don't really taste it, just kind of, especially when you put cabbage in, it just looks like cabbage, like you don't know what's onion, what's cabbage in there. So, I'm gonna plug my soup in, because that means our soup is gonna cook faster now, since I'm not using the food processor. And, come on, turn on. So this pot is not full of boiling water. I put about this much boiling water in the bottom of the pot. But what that does is that just helps speed up your cooking process. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the onion in there. And the next thing is garlic. And it says minced, but I didn't bring my mincer because I have a really fancy mincer. It's really nice. But I figured probably the rest of you don't. So I'm gonna show you what to do when you don't have a mincer. You take your garlic clove and a nice big knife and you mash it. And then you chop it, okay? And the reason you're doing that is because when you mash that garlic, it gets the oil out of the garlic, which gives you twice as much flavor as if you just chopped it first. Okay? So you mash your garlic cloves, and then we'll just chop them all at once. Have you ever seen the chefs on TV mash their garlic like that?
Yeah.
Now you know why they do it.
Chopped, same
It's
thing.
flavor. It's flavor. So we're just gonna chop that all up. To save time, I already peeled the garlic for you. Tried to do a few things to speed up because I know you guys are hungry and I don't want you to be here all day waiting for this food when it smells so good.
What's an easy way to peel your garlic?
The easiest way to peel your garlic is to use this and cut the top off of it and then bend the garlic. If you bend it, that breaks up the skin. It usually pops off. And then I just use my knife to carefully start at the top and pull it down and then use my fingers to pry it off. And that is the fastest way. There's lots of like garlic peeler contraptions and whatever else. And when we had the restaurant, we would peel up to 60 cloves of garlic at a time. And so trust me, we tried every contraption there was and we decided that none of them worked. And so when someone was tired of standing up in the kitchen, they would go sit in the corner and peel garlic, and that was their rest period. Now, I want extra onion in here, so I'm gonna do one more onion. Just because I have an 8-quart pot of soup and not a 6-quart, so we're just gonna add a little extra to it.
Is that just plain white onion?
This is just plain white onion. You can use yellow onion. Do not use red onion.
Why?
Because it will turn your soup red. You will no longer have potato soup. Now, if you were making borscht, you could use red onion. It wouldn't matter at all because borscht is already red soup. But the red color does bleed into your soup. And if you want a nice, pretty white soup, don't use red onion.
I usually use sweet.
Sweet onion is my favorite, for sure, because you don't cry as much. So at home, I only have sweet onions. The reason I have these white onions is because someone gave them to me. But thankfully, I kept them in the car last night because I loaded them up last night so I wouldn't have to load it up this morning. And so because I had it in the car last night and it was cool, I did not cry just now because the onion was still cold. What makes you cry is the oils from the onion.
Yeah.
The oils float into the air and they get in your eyes and they irritate your eyes and they make you cry. But if the onion is cold, oil doesn't float when it's cold. It stays where it belongs on the onion. So I do not recommend refrigerating your onions like permanently, like storing them in the fridge. But if you have, if you're gonna have to chop a bunch of onions, put them in the fridge the night before, you won't cry near as bad. And all the other things they say about crying with onions, you know, like, you know, chew gum while you're doing onions or none of those things work. One thing that does work, if you forget to refrigerate your onion the night before, you can peel your onion and then rinse it off in cold water. And that will rinse off some of those extra oils so that you don't cry quite as bad. Now, the onion is cooking, so probably the rest of us are all going to be crying in a few minutes anyway. So with the potatoes, you can chop them as big or as small as you want. I am currently chopping them small because I don't want to be here for a half an hour waiting for them to cook. So we're going for small, but if you like big chunks of potatoes in your soup, by all means, do big chunks of potatoes in your soup.
What kind of potatoes?
These are red potatoes, and they work the best for potato soup. The reason is because red potatoes are moister and they hold their shape better. So you won't have that mashed potato texture in your soup with red potatoes. You will have that mashed potato texture with your soup if you use yellow or white potatoes, because they tend to fall apart more. White potatoes, like the russet potatoes, they fall apart the most. They make the best mashed potatoes and the worst potato soup. Unless, of course, you wanted mashed potato soup, then they work just fine. So you'll notice that the potato soup recipe I gave you only calls for 2.5 pounds of potatoes. By all means, you do not have to weigh those. That just means you use half of a 5-pound bag. Right?
Right.
Isn't that 2.5 pounds?
Yep.
Okay. So for my recipe on my website, I have to do pounds because I have a nutrition facts calculator that will tell you how many calories and all that fun stuff. So it has to have weights and measurements. So that's why I have weights and measurements in my recipes. But soup is very forgiving. You use as many or as much as you want. It just means the nutrition calculator won't be as accurate. I got a few more potatoes here. Now, I will tell you that one of the things that will save your life if you do not have time to do a lot of chopping, and that is these.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen these in the store? They're pre-sliced carrots. Now normally I will slice carrots at home, especially if I'm making a small batch of soup and I don't care about chopping them. But to save your time and mine today, so we can eat sooner, I got pre-sliced carrots for you.
They actually have them in the store for soup with the onion, the celery, the potato, the whole.
Yeah, you
9
can get it
yards.
all. Now, I have not found, I mean, if you can find them fresh, but most of the time when I see them, the potatoes are already turning brown in the bag, and so I just lose my appetite and don't buy them.
Oh, I add the potatoes.
Oh, you
But
add the
they have
potatoes.
the
Oh, so it's
vegetable-
everything but the potatoes.
Yeah, they have the vegetable
Now that's cool.
thing in a pack. It's in the refrigerated section over by
Yes.
vegetables.
They also have like pre-chopped butternut squash cubes.
Yeah.
If you want to do like roasted butternut squash and that kind of thing. I always tell people, you know what? Cutting your own fresh always tastes better and is always better. But if it means you're not going to cook the vegetables at all, buy them pre-chopped. Okay? Because pre-chopped vegetables are still better than no vegetables.
Yeah.
And sometimes we just have to take those shortcuts. And it's not a bad thing, and you do not have to feel guilty about it. You'll notice I actually peeled these potatoes. You do not have to peel potatoes. But for potato soup, I prefer to peel potatoes. If I'm gonna roast them, I'll leave the skins on. But for my white creamy potato soup, I always peel them because the skin on the potato is the first thing that turns brown. And if you want white soup, you cut the brown off. I learned that the hard way with hash browns. I tried making hash browns by just like shredding whole potatoes with skin and all. And shredded whole potatoes with skin turn brown 3 times faster than shredded whole potatoes without skin. Even if you're using the same raw potatoes. Same with carrots. Carrots that are unpeeled will turn brown faster than carrots that are peeled. So if you're gonna shred carrots, always peel them first. It feels like a waste, but it will make it so your salad is not brown. I think I have one more potato after this and I will have done half a 5-pound bag. Now you'll notice the order that I'm putting the vegetables in the pot. I put the onion in first, and then I put the potatoes in second, and then I add the carrots and cabbage next after that. And it's because that is the ones that take the longest to cook. So your potatoes and onions will take the longest to cook. Your carrots and cabbage take less long, but still take a good while. Your broccoli hardly takes long at all, so we're gonna add it last. Because
I
it cooks
figured
super fast.
carrots would take longer than onions.
Well, if you like crunchy onions in your soup, then yes they do.
Oh.
But if you're like me and you don't like crunchy onions in your soup, then
No,
you
just
put the
'cause
onions
they're
in
so
first.
hard, that's why I
Yeah, no,
just.
carrots actually cook in 10 minutes, and potatoes take 15 to 18 minutes.
What about onions?
Onions, if you want them soft, 15 minutes
Wow.
in boiling water, yes. In fact, it can take up to
Interesting.
20.
What about cabbage?
Cabbage, now cabbage, it depends on the cabbage. There are two varieties of cabbage, actually there's hundreds of varieties of cabbage, right? But there are two main varieties of cabbage that they sell in the grocery store. They sell winter cabbage and they sell summer cabbage.
Huh.
Summer cabbage cooks in 5 to 10 minutes, usually about 10. Winter cabbage takes 15 to 20. And so the easiest way to identify winter versus summer cabbage is how much the cabbage weighs. If you pick up a tiny little head of cabbage and it weighs 10 pounds, it's winter cabbage. If you pick up a cabbage and it's super light, like this one is, that's summer cabbage. So this one should hopefully take about 10 minutes to cook because it's a nice light. You'll know when you cut it, like when you cut summer cabbage, see how light and airy it is? Like you can see like air between every layer. When you cut winter cabbage, you feel like you're cutting a rock. You know, it's like solid, like. Both of them are good for you, just one takes longer. I always use summer cabbage for coleslaw. I do not use winter cabbage for coleslaw. Unless you're gonna like shred it with a carrot shredder because it's so tough, you won't be able to chew it. So, I have found, at least in this area, that Food Lion has summer cabbage more often than winter cabbage. And more often than Walmart. Walmart almost always has winter cabbage. Winter cabbage keeps longer, and so it's easier for stores to sell. But I never let my husband pick out cabbage because I know he is not going to take the time to figure out what kind of cabbage it is.
And what about Napa cabbage or?
Napa cabbage is amazing. Napa cabbage is considered a Chinese cabbage and it cooks very fast. So generally your Napa cabbage, if it's fresh, is going to take about 10 minutes, same as summer cabbage. If it's not fresh, Napa cabbage can take up to 15 minutes or even 20 minutes if it's really tough. And you can tell by feeling it, like how thick it is, how tough it is, and that will usually tell you how long it's going to take to cook.
And where do you find that?
Napa cabbage is actually at Walmart and Food Lion and Harris Teeter. All three of them have it. It looks almost like a whitish, yellowish cross between lettuce and celery.
That's what that is.
Yes, yeah, it's really pretty. It comes in a like really tall. It's got frilly leaves on it,
Yeah.
all conformed nicely. That is Napa cabbage, and usually it'll either be called Napa cabbage at the store or they'll call it Chinese cabbage, depending on the store. Napa cabbage is amazing for stir fries because it cooks so fast. It's also really good in this recipe. It also costs more. Average cost of cabbage is around like anywhere from 50 cents a pound to 80 cents a pound. Napa cabbage is $3 a pound.
Oh my gosh.
So it is more expensive, but it tastes amazing. And if you ever find it on sale, buy it. If you ever see it for 99 cents a pound, call it a deal. You're not gonna see it again for a while, and get it.
How long does it last in your fridge?
It doesn't keep as long as regular cabbage does. That's one reason why it's more expensive, because they have to transport it faster after it's cooked, after it's picked. But it will keep a week or two usually, about like lettuce. Now, I may not end up using all this cabbage, but I love cabbage, so I might end up using it anyway. You see how I'm chopping this? I've got this monster in the way now, so you can't see. I'm just chopping it in fine, thin strips. That way it looks more like my onions. and it cooks faster.
And then they don't know they're onions.
I have made potato soup where I just like left the potatoes in big quarter-sized pieces and did giant chunks of cabbage. It just takes a half an hour to cook instead of your, 15 or 20 minutes. And it's perfectly fine. It tastes amazing that way. Throwing cabbage. My pot's looking nice. A happy pot is a full pot. It doesn't matter the size of the pot. And Kristina version is she'll fill the pot so full that she might have to pull out a second pot to let the overflow in. Because everything starts out so innocent. I'm gonna put some carrots in here so we can go in with the cabbage. Everything starts out so innocent, right? Because it's like, oh, it doesn't look like this is very much. It's not very much carrots, or it's not very much potatoes, or, like, I'm sure I could put a little more of that in there. And then every little bit adds up, right? And then you're like, wait a second. I forgot how small my pot was. This is looking great. All right, let's grab a little more of that cabbage. This is such nice cabbage. Beautiful cabbage. There's something therapeutic about chopping vegetables if you have a sharp knife. If you don't have a sharp knife, there's nothing more terrifying and angering than chopping vegetables. So, my advice to you is if you do not have a good knife and you want to eat vegetables, invest in the knife, by all means. You will never regret it. This knife here, I've had for 16 years, but it is easy to resharpen and works absolutely amazing. And then I also have a small paring knife. I always tell my husband, if I have these two knives, I can chop anything and do anything and cook anything because they're sharp and they work and they're good. And that makes a huge difference.
Are they a certain brand?
This one is the brand. It's actually not a real expensive knife. It's Calphalon is the brand. It's considered like, what do you say, your medium brand? It's not like a super expensive German brand. I think this one is more expensive. Yes, this is an expensive one. So I paid twice as much for this knife than I did for this one.
Wow.
I can't tell you what the prices are now because I bought it so long ago, but I bought mine 16 years ago, and then 11 years ago when I opened my restaurant, I bought the same knives again for the restaurant. And I think this one was 11 years ago was like $25 knife. It might be a little more now, probably, but this one was like a $50 knife.
Wow.
So,
So probably $100 knife.
but I like these better than Cutco knives because they're a little bit thinner. Your thinner metal pierces through your veggies better, and so I really like them. This one I can cut anything, whether it be a giant pumpkin or a watermelon or anything hard and tough. I can be mean to it and it will work nicely. For the broccoli, we're going to go ahead and cut it, but we're not going to put it in until those potatoes are done cooking. Broccoli cooks so fast, especially if you cut it small, that I actually throw it in the soup when it's done cooking and let it sit for 5 minutes and it's cooked. That keeps your broccoli green and doesn't turn brown. So I like to just cut it in small little pieces. Little flowerets is what they call them. And you can put as little or as much as you want in there, depending on how full your pot is. But this adds color to your soup. And it also adds flavor. You can tell my knife is sharp. Daniel sharpened it for me on Friday. I always tell him, if this knife or this knife cannot cut a tomato, then they're dull. That's how I know when it's time to sharpen them again. Some people say, oh, you need a serrated knife to cut tomato. No, you just need a sharp, good knife. And if you can't cut a tomato anymore, it's time to resharpen it. And if you keep them sharp, they're easy to sharpen. Only takes a few seconds to sharpen it. It's not like a major ordeal. If you go a year without sharpening your knives, then it's going to be a little more of a major ordeal, because you're going to have to grind some metal off of them. But if you keep them sharp, it's not hard. While I'm chopping this, I want to talk to you a little bit about the Borcht recipe. There is a slight possibility that we may have some show up if my husband can bring it to us. And Borsch is our absolute favorite soup in the wintertime. My husband and I love it. I will make a huge batch and we will eat it for supper every night for a week or two. So if you want, you can see it on your same page there, Ukrainian Borsch. It's a lot of the same veggies except the broccoli, right? So it's your onion, your garlic, your potatoes, your cabbage. But of course the difference is you have beets. Because that is what makes borscht borscht. It's a red soup. It turns your potatoes red, it turns your cabbage red, it turns your onions red, it turns everything red, and it all looks like beets, but it's not. It's just the beets like to color everything. But borscht is also versatile. You can put any vegetable you want in it. You could put green beans in it. You could put whatever. And the base on the borscht is actually a tomato base. So you just use a can of crushed tomatoes or diced tomatoes or whole tomatoes or whatever kind of tomatoes you have. And you add that in as your broth. And then the seasoning is my homemade country style seasoning, but you can use any all-purpose vegetable seasoning. I did give you the recipe for my all-purpose country style seasoning. I make it and I use it for everything. I use it for gravies, I use it for all my holiday dishes, for meatloaf, I use it for meatballs, I use it in soups, anything that calls for vegetable broth, I just use that. And it's about 50% salt, 50% herbs. So it becomes your salt in the recipe. You don't have to add salt besides. And the flavor is just amazing. So that is the only seasoning in the borscht besides a little bit of dill weed. So just the tomato, the country style seasoning, and dill weed is your only flavor. And it's just, so you cook the vegetables in water, and when they're almost tender, you add the tomato. And if you do not want to buy fresh beets, which most of the time I don't have fresh beets on hand, sometimes I do. The one you'll eat today is fresh beets. But I will just buy the canned beets in water, not the pickled beets. And I just add them at the end, after all the other vegetables are done cooking, because they're cooked, right? They're soft. And so I just throw the canned beets in at the end after everything's done cooking, and let it sit, and then I just put it straight in jars and stick it in the fridge, because I prefer it after everything turns red. When you first eat it, the only thing that is red is the beets. So I personally think it tastes better second day. After all that seasoning marinates into it. So there is our broccoli. It's all ready to go. And so the only other thing we are going to do, let me check the soup over here.
Where do you get your summer savory? Because I haven't been able to find it in the area.
I order it from Azure Standard. So I'll tell you what, I'll order a bag of it, because it'll probably be enough to last me the rest of my life. And we can all split it.
That'd be great.
I brought some with me from the restaurant. I still have about a quarter cup left. So I can share something with you, cause it's like, what, half teaspoon the recipe, or 1 teaspoon the recipe?
Add the
So-
teaspoon for teaspoon.
I can share some with you if you would like. You can also order it on Amazon. And, you know, you just have to buy a little tiny bag of it and it will last you, cause, you know, you only put a teaspoon in for every batch. It'll last a long time. Okay, I'm gonna clear off my mess now that I just made with this broccoli. Can you smell that soup? Doesn't it smell good? Oh,
Yes, it does.
it's smelling amazing. So we're gonna go ahead and make the cream sauce for it and just leave it in the blender. You don't put the cream in until all the veggies are done cooking. So I did all that cabbage except 1 piece. Mainly because I forgot the piece was there, but it's okay. I will put it in with the carrot so I don't forget that I have it. So, the base for the potato soup is cashews. You can also use almonds, but you'll have to peel them, like use the peeled blanched almonds because the brown pieces will turn your soup brown. I use raw cashews, but I have made this recipe with roasted salted cashews, and that works just fine. You just decrease the salt a little bit because they're salted cashews, and otherwise you keep it the same. I know there's a couple of you here who are allergic to cashews. You can use any kind of cream or milk or whatever that you want to put in instead. It won't be quite as thick, but it will still taste good. Of course, it will have a slightly different flavor. But your only seasonings in the soup is salt and onion powder. Yes?
Pine nuts.
It would have a pine nut flavor, but you could use it. You could even do macadamia nuts. Like I said, it'll have a slightly different flavor, but it will work. Just don't use walnuts or pecans. That would not be white. Let's see. How much cashews am I supposed to put in?
1.5 cups.
1.5 cups. Now, how big is my pot over here? My pot is 8 quarts. She remembers. That was a quiz. Yeah, this is an 8-quart pot. Your recipe is a 6-quart pot.
Okay.
So because I have 8 quarts instead of 6 quarts, I'm gonna use 2 cups of cashews instead of 1.5, just to add that cream. You can totally adjust it however. When I made this at the restaurant, we would make a 12-quart pot of soup. So I would have to put 3 cups in. But if anyone wants the raw cashews, I buy them by the 25-pound box. I buy one once a year, and it lasts me a whole year. I am happy to share with you if you don't want to buy roasted salted, because I know these are cheaper. The one thing you want to do with them, and I'm going to run the case and do that real quick, is wash the cashews, because they are raw, not roasted. So I'm going to put some water in them. All right? And you just need salt and onion powder, right?
Yeah.
Very simple. Now, if you want a non-creamy potato soup, you can just put the salt and onion powder in and leave out the cashews. And you'll just have a brothy potato soup. Or if you want it tomatoey, you just add a 28-ounce can of canned tomatoes into it, and you have a tomato brothy soup. Personally, if I do that, I use country style seasoning instead of salt and onion powder, because the brothy soup just tastes better with country style. So you would just put your country style seasoning and your tomato like the Borcht, but just without the beans. And it still tastes amazing. It's just not Borcht anymore, it's vegetable soup. How much salt do I need to put in here?
2 tablespoons.
Okay. 2 tablespoons. And then of course we'll have to adjust that because this is a bigger pot, so we may have to add a little bit more, but we'll start with 2 tablespoons because it's easier to add more than take out. And then the same with onion powder, right?
Yeah.
That's the flavor. All right, and then we just need water, right?
From the pot.
Yeah, it says from the pot. I don't have extra water in my pot today, so I'm gonna go ahead and put water in. But I'm gonna use some of your hot water.
Okay.
We'll just have to refill it and turn it back on again. How much does it say, or does it not say?
2.5 cups.
2.5 cups, okay, here we go. We'll probably need 3 because we added more cashews, right?
Right.
So we'll just go ahead and put 3 cups in. You don't need boiling water, but this was just warm. It boiled a long time ago. Oh, my husband, I plugged it in.
That would
Which means I have to unplug the stove to plug in the blender. So let me check and see how these are doing. So how do you check to see if it's done? Oh, it is almost done. Look at that. Cool. You grab one of your potatoes and try to chop it with your wooden spoon. If it breaks in half easy, you know it's done. And then you do the same thing with the carrots. And the carrots are done. So that's going to tell us probably the cabbage is about done too. Wonderful. That's what we want. So we will go ahead. No, I'll just unplug it because the blender won't run very long, and that's enough heat in there, it'll keep cooking. So we will just unplug one. I don't want trippity breakers. This blender pulls a lot of power.
You just flipped a breaker?
What's that?
Did you just flip a breaker?
No, I
No,
just
she said
unplugged
she
it.
don't want.
I don't want to flip a breaker. I would if I ran both at the same time on the same outlet. Now, I know this is a high-powered blender, and probably most of you don't have a high-powered one. But the secret to making the cream is blend it long enough until it's creamy. Your higher-powered blender, you blend less. Your lower-powered blender, you just blend it longer. It will work. I've done this recipe with like a cheap Walmart Oster blender. Just blend it longer. But here's the secret to know if it's done. While it's blending, not after it's done, but while it's blending, you stick your spatula just barely in the top of it. Don't put it all the way down, because then you'll have a spatula for lunch. But barely in the top of it while it's running, and pull it out and put that drop between your fingers and rub it. If it feels like sandpaper, it's not done yet. If it feels like cream, you've done, okay? Because this is your cream for the soup. You want it to be creamy. If you do it after it's done running, the hard stuff settles to the bottom and it'll probably feel creamy when it's not. That's why I always do it while it's running. So I'm going to do that now just to check to see how it's. And now it's actually done. So what I'm going to do, just in case the borscht does not arrive, I'm going to pull out a few of these vegetables and put them in this pot so I don't put cashews and everything. I have a, oh, let's plug it back in.
There's a ladle right there.
There's a ladle right there?
Yeah.
I'm sure there is one, I just don't see it. Thank you. Thank you for being my eyes. Alright, we'll just put a little bit in here. And we'll just put salt and onion powder directly in this. And now we'll add the cream to the rest. There's won't be broccoli in that one. Well, I can add the broccoli. We'll put some broccoli in there. We'll probably have to bring it to a boil again. Alright, broccoli's underwater. That just needs some salt and onion powder before I forget. Or else it will be tasteless soup. Alright, we will let that marinate. And now we will add our cream to the rest of our soup.
Do you need the broccoli to put in?
Nope, broccoli goes in after we add the cream. Broccoli is the last thing that goes in here.
Well, yeah, Yeah, when you think how fast it steams, it
Yep.
wouldn't take long.
Now, doesn't that soup look pretty?
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Looks like I wanna eat it.
Looks like what?
Looks like I wanna eat it.
Well, good. That's what we hope. That's the plan. All right. So now that we've got that.
Now, we're gonna be eating this right away, but now
Yes.
I have a question. You know, soup, a lot of soups do taste better the next day. So does this type of cream that you made, does it thicken?
It does
as it
thicken.
ages?
Yes. Yes.
Here comes what you're waiting on.
By tomorrow, you will have to. Wonderful! Our hero has arrived.
Kristina, I just wanna ask, are you using regular salt?
No, that was Himalayan pink salt.
Oh, okay.
That was my favorite.
Because of the
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're our hero. I can throw it on the stove here, warm it up. Thank you so much.
Good
See, isn't that
morning.
pretty soup? It's as red as it gets.
Good morning, Daniel.
Thank you. The question was, does this thicken? It's already starting to thicken now, but yeah, by tomorrow, you'll probably have to add more water.
Okay,
Unless you're like me and you like to eat soup with a fork.
yeah.
But today it'll be nice and runny. So I just added the broccoli. Where did I put the, oh, here it is, the lid. We're gonna put that on. We want it to sit for about 10 minutes just to flavor. I'm gonna leave it running for another minute and then just shut it off because I want it to reheat. And I'm just gonna shut it off and let's let it sit. And Dawn, I'm gonna turn the time over to you, but let me ask real quick, was there any questions about anything before I
Yeah, I got one
finish this
more.
up? Yes.
What is the difference between the salt and Himalayan salt? Cause I have a husband at home that he's having high blood pressure, no salt.
Okay, all salt has sodium in it. So, if he can't handle salt, then you'll just have to do whatever you're doing.
Yeah, because,
There's like-
it's not tasty.
There's a lot of, Mrs. Dash
Use-
has a really good salt substitute.
Yeah, I have tried that.
You can also use adding more herbs and seasonings helps as well.
Okay.
It's amazing what different herbs and seasonings will do. You can even make my country style seasoning without salt.
Okay.
Where it calls for celery salt, just use ground celery seed without the salt. And that will add a ton of flavor without any salt. And I know people who do that. It's very versatile and easy to make as a salt-free seasoning. And they'll grind it up in a coffee grinder and put it in a salt shaker and stick it on the table and just put it on everything. Nutritional yeast also adds some flavor, if he likes that flavor. I don't like to use a lot of it, but sometimes a little pinch of that will help to add flavor as well. So, nutritional yeast.
Oh,
Yeah, it does add flavor. It's like a cheesy flavor. And that's nice when you can't have salt. So, Himalayan, let me shut this off because it's been a minute and it's boiling.
One more question here.
If the Himalayan pink salt versus regular salt actually is more salty for the same amount of salt. So if you're going low sodium, you can use Himalayan pink salt, use less of it, and still have that salty flavor. But if you're completely salt-free, then it doesn't matter what kind of salt it is, they all have sodium. So, yes, you have a question.
I have a friend that is allergic to onions and all nuts. What
Okay.
would be a good substitute?
They're gonna have to learn to like garlic. Just add more garlic to the soup. It'll be garlic potato soup instead of onion potato soup. And use garlic powder instead of onion powder, but by all means don't put 2 tablespoons in because it'll knock you out. You use about 2 teaspoons. It'll be fine. For the no nuts, like I said, do the brothy soup with the canned tomatoes in it and the country style seasoning, and you have an amazing, and I'll let you try, this is the no nuts version as well with just the salt and onion powder, it doesn't have the country style. But yeah, just don't put the cream in. Or they can also use, I don't know if they can do soy or oat or any of that kind of stuff, because there's rice milk, there's soy milk, there's oat milk, and all those are nut free. and, you could use that as well. It won't be quite as creamy, but it still works, so.